oceans of the Earth since life evolved several billion years ago.
Despite its power and killer whale size, Dunkleosteus's legacy has proven to be fragile. Unlike their Devonian competitors, descendants of the armored placoderms don't exist today. Our clues about Dunkleosteus come from the only physical evidence that survives: fossilized dermal armor that covered the front end of the fish. Armor that, after death, would have dragged Dunkleosteus to the bottom towards preservation. Once the bone settles to the bottom, a protective layer of sediment must cover it in order to fossilize.
In the vast majority of cases, this doesn't happen and the animal just decays away, just like roadkill you might see along a highway.
Fossilization is actually a very rare thing to happen to any given specimen of bone or a shell or a leaf. 99.9% of everything that's ever lived doesn't fossilize, and we don't have it in the fossil record.
If the bone is covered by sediment, then water flowing through the pore spaces of the bone can precipitate minerals out in the little crevices in the bone. Those minerals then turn into a representation of the bone, and all the original organic material decays away.
Fossils of Dunkleosteus's armor plating reveal a beautiful bone structure that made this animal into a model predator.
The top of the head is almost like a drawbridge. There are two hinges on either side of the skull, and there's actually this large soft tissue opening right here. When Dunkleosteus had seen a predator or seen a prey item in front of it and wanted to attack it, it would drop its lower jaws down, but this thing would lift the top of the skull up like a drawbridge.
Based on their study of fossils, scientists restored the musculature to a computer model of Dunkleosteus's skull. They were able to determine that the creature's 4 jaw joints worked in concert to open and close with force and speed.
The length of time it would take to go from a closed mouth to an open gap was less than a 50th of a second. You'd have a big suction formed by the sudden opening, and anything that was swimming in front of it would actually get drawn back towards the mouth. And as soon as these shearing jaws come together, you've got that animal cut in half. Dunkleosteus has a bite force roughly equivalent to Tyrannosaurus rex, which has absolutely the largest bite force that we've ever measured for any vertebrate animal.
This would also rival an alligator's bite, which is the strongest of any living animal. Amazingly, despite how lethal Dunkleosteus was, this placoderm was technically toothless.
Dunkleosteus didn't have teeth like fish such as sharks have, or many modern fish that didn't have a whole bunch of teeth set into a jaw, but instead had protrusions of the bones.
Through natural selection and evolution, the plates that form the lower jaws have actually become thin, elongate, like cleaver blades, and you actually have several points coming up on these things. And they were essentially self-sharpening. When the lower jaws moved against the bony plates of the upper jaw, it was just like sharpening a knife.
But much of reconstructing Dunkleosteus remains an act of imagination.
When we're trying to reconstruct an animal like Dunkleosteus here, the only thing you have to work with is the actual skeleton. We have to imagine what the eyes would look like in the eye socket, what sort of covering would there be over the plates that form the teeth, and what sort of skin would be over this body. As a paleontologist, what we want to do is draw modern analogs. When we're looking at things like placoderms, this is a whole group of vertebrates that went extinct. There are no modern analogs to this.
Though armored fish no longer exist, Dunkleosteus's closest living relatives are sharks.
If you can use some kind of modern animal to say something about any kind of behavior, you know, because it truly is speculation. I mean, the suspects are dead.
Essentially what geologists and paleontologists are doing is we're all trying to figure out the plot of the same movie. But that movie has been cut into frames, and those frames have been scattered outside and left out in the